Hi guys, and thank you so much for joining me. If you are new to my channel, I'm Kat and I like to talk about true crime, conspiracies and all sorts of related things. Today, let's talk about Cheer. Right now, Cheer is one of the most popular shows on Netflix. The Netflix documentary series follows the cheer squads at Navarro College and Trinity Valley Community College as they prepare for competition at the national level. Cheer was a guaranteed hit during its first season. The Netflix reality series is based on the story of an award-winning cheerleading team for a community college, as well as the lives of characters whose struggles and personal stories are unexpectedly touching. The show embodied the catchphrase "never give up" by focusing on underprivileged teens who found a meaningful community in sports with non-judgmental support. During the pandemic that struck 2 months after Cheer's debut, these teams kept the star shining. We are looking at an unlikely group of stunting Texan teenagers that may be a beacon of hope in an otherwise hopeless time. Navarro College Bulldogs became national darlings after using this exact formula, performing choreographed routines on Today and Ellen show as well, recording video messages for fans on Cameo and becoming social media influencers. Jerry Harris was Cheer's breakout star thanks to his bottomless energy and knack for motivational speeches. His career skyrocketed after Ellen hired him to be the red carpet correspondent for the Oscars, where he interviewed A-listers and watched his own star rise. During his campaign for president, Joe Biden even conducted an Instagram live interview with him. Jerry Harris was born on July 14, 1999 in Hinsdale, Illinois and raised in Bolingbrook, Illinois. At the age of 16, his mother sadly passed away from lung cancer. He attended Wabaunsee Valley High School and then Navarro College in Corsicana, Texas, where he joined the cheer team guided by Monica Aldama. During the finale of Cheer, he received a Regional Scholars Award from the University of Louisville. He attended the school for the fall semester but ultimately returned to Navarro College. He became famous for his eccentric personality. But in September of 2020, USA Today broke the news that Harris was under investigation for allegations of sexual misconduct, including soliciting sex from underage boys. The FBI arrested him and charged him with receiving child inappropriate images, later adding charges including sexual exploitation of children. Deemed a possible danger due to his repeated actions asking minors for nude photos and sex over platforms like Snapchat, Harris has been held in jail as he awaits trial in February. Everyone was shocked. Viewers and fans alike, but most of all, Harris's teammates and friends were shocked. The severity of his actions and undoubtedly reprehensible, and in season 2, Cheer does not shy away from the fact. Episode 5, entitled Jerry, is an unvarnished, critical recounting of what transpired leading up to and following Jerry's arrest. A powerful indictment of one of reality TV's most beloved characters and the centerpiece of one of its most disturbing tragedies. Over the course of the hour, news footage from the fall of 2020 detailing the allegations is complemented with contemporary interviews with an assortment of people like Gabby Butler and Ladarius Marshall, Harry's teammates, fellow fan favorites, and among his closest friends. And Monica Aldama, Harris's coach, confidant, and Cheer's true lead. I was just scrolling through Twitter, Marshall says, of the moment he found out about Harris. And I see Jerry. I felt like someone had just died, Butler says through tears. Aldama talks about finding out the news while backstage during Dancing with the Stars, on which she was a contestant in fall 2020. We had a team meeting that night and it really felt like a funeral. But viewers spent most of the episode's runtime with two of Jerry's actual victims, Texas twins Charlie and Sam, as well as their mother, Kristen, and an attorney, Sarah Klein. An advocate for victims of SA, Sarah Klein, is also a former gymnast and SA victim of USA Gymnastics physician Larry Nassar. When the episode cuts to Charlie and Sam for their first on-camera interview, it's an almost shocking confirmation that Cheer is not going to tiptoe around what its famous cheerleader did. The boys and their mom Kristen share what happened to them in plain details, speaking with an honest clarity beyond their ears. Charlie and Sam talk about the comfort they found in cheerleading, which they sacrificed by speaking up about the messages Jerry Harris sent them and his attempts to assault them at events. Kristen explains how many months it took for the boys to first tell her what happened, then file reports to cheerleading organizations involved, then get those reports recognized at all, only for them to be brushed aside, leading her to reach out to the press and the FBI. Charlie and Sam also talk about how they tried to remain in cheerleading afterward, only to receive glares and become the source of rumors. They have been made to feel so uncomfortable and so different and so isolated. But when asked if they have any regrets about moving forward, Charlie and Sam both said no. Would they speak out again if they had the chance? And they both said yes. The episode becomes a highlight of what can hide behind all the smiling brightness of cheerleading competitions and associations. They are institutional failures that can aid and abet child abuse and SA, no matter how sparkly the veneer. The similarities to the USA gymnastics horrors both are made openly and honestly and serve as ongoing conversation. Lawrence Gerard Nassar, born on August 16, 1963, is an American convicted RAPIST and former osteopathic physician. For 18 years, he was the team doctor of the United States women's national gymnastics team, which gave him access to hundreds of girls and young women whom he SA'd. Larry's SA of young girls and women and the following cover-up led to the USA Gymnastics SA scandal that began in 2015, alleging that Larry repeatedly SA'd at least 265 young women and girls under the guise of medical treatment. His victims included numerous Olympic and United States women's national gymnastics team gymnasts. Larry Nassar was sentenced to 60 years in federal prison on December 7, 2017, after pleading guilty to underage pornography and tampering with evidence charges on July 11, 2017. On January 24, 2018, Larry Nassar was sentenced to an additional 40 to 175 years in Michigan State Prison after pleading guilty in Ingham County to 7 counts of SA of minors. On February 5, 2018, he was sentenced to an additional 40 to 125 years in Michigan State Prison after pleading guilty to an additional 3 counts of SA in Eaton County. The Eaton County sentence will run concurrently with the Ingham County sentence. On the orders of the judge in charge of the federal case, his state prison sentences are to run consecutively with his federal sentence, amounting to a sentence of de facto life imprisonment without parole. Cheer episode also tackles the basic difficulty in accepting the person you thought you knew with the person they really are. James Thomas, another of Jerry's teammates and best friends, speaks about the questions teammates asked one another. Why didn't I know? Could we have helped him? There will never be answers to these questions, and the unknown can hurt, as it clearly hurt Monica, the coach. The new season of Cheer casts an unflattering light on her at times, referencing the negative reception to her public statement about Jerry's charges. She focused on her own shock and heartbreak and her continued internal battle over how to be supportive of Jerry Harris throughout all this, or even if she should be. Viewers reluctant on returning to Cheer after this long, revealing, disturbing 2 years may worry about watching season 2 because of similar battles. The show's popularity was not owed only to Jerry's charisma, but he came to define it in the months after his debut. Cheer was a show about the light that's at the end of the tunnel. If you commit yourself to stay working toward it and don't let life's hardships hold you back. Investing in a team and a sport which harbored the person who took advantage of this positivity could feel selfish or impossible. But the new season doesn't shy away from how this tension persists on a creative or individual level, nor does it at all absolve anyone of their actions. It's very easy when we fall in love with people we feel connected to in some way to have them on a pedestal and believe they can do no wrong. Sarah Klein, the victim's lawyer, says, but thankfully Cheer has no inhibitions about knocking Jerry Harris off the pedestal he never deserved to be placed on. When you get to the 5th episode of the 2nd season, you'll see USA Today investigative reporters Marisa Kwiatkowski and Trisha Nadolny, who broke the story about season 1 Cheer, star Jerry Harris being accused of soliciting sexually explicit photos and sex from minors. More than that, they found failures across the sport of competitive cheerleading, including how the governing body, the US All-Star Federation, delayed investigations and failed to prevent those accused or convicted of crimes from working in member gyms. The federation has since hired an outside firm to strengthen its policies and enforcement. Watching season 2 of this hit show, the reporters noticed appearances by 4 more individuals currently suspended by the sport's governing body. These individuals were not there in the context of the show dealing with SA. They were working with athletes, cheering or on camera talking about the world of competitive cheerleading. Among them was choreographer Brandon Hale, who the reporters already investigated in the past. Brandon Hale has twice been suspended by US All-Stars Federation, the first time when he was accused of having sex with a 17-year-old cheerleader, an allegation he denied. He was reinstated after authorities declined to file criminal charges. Brandon Hale was suspended again after being arrested in Mexico for allegedly pushing his boyfriend off a 3rd-floor walkway. In a statement posted on social media, governing body USA Cheer said it had notified Netflix that people on its suspended list had appeared on the show, calling their appearance a presumed oversight. Marisa Kwiatkowski was one of the reporters for the Indianapolis Star who broke the story of Dr. Larry Nassar's SA of gymnasts. I had a source reach out and say, I saw what you did with gymnastics. I really think you need to take a look at cheerleading. She and Trisha started with a list of people banned from taking part in the sport. At the time, the governing body's list had fewer than 2,000 names on them. For a sport as big as cheerleading, Marisa and I both just had that gut feeling of that is a really small list. Trisha says there are clearly people who have been credibly accused or convicted of misconduct who must not be on this list. So we started looking for those people. They found almost 180 individuals affiliated with cheerleading who faced charges relating to sexual misconduct involving minors but were not banned by the sport's 2 governing bodies, USASF and USA Cheer. More than 140 of them, a group that includes coaches, choreographers and others directly tied to the activities, had been convicted, and 74 were registered sex offenders. Part of the issue, according to the reporters, was actually a loophole in the rules. USASF only required coaches who go backstage or in the warm-up area at competitions to be members and background checked through its system. It did require gym owners to conduct their own screenings and background checks for anyone who interacted with a minor, but what businesses did with that information was up to them. Marisa interviewed Ohio gym owner and coach Michelle Robinson, who described how she started a member gym while on the sex offender registry. Michelle said her sister was the registered owner with USASF because Michelle knew her conviction in 2006 for sexual battery of a high school boy would show up on a background check. She said she bought a spectator ticket and didn't go backstage or in the warm-up area of the competitions. Also, at the time of the investigation, Marisa said USASF had a process for investigating complaints, but they weren't following their process. People were waiting months, sometimes even more than a year, to get a response to these allegations. And meanwhile, that person was still continuing to work. Sometimes they would be fired from one gym in the middle of that process, and then they would end up at another gym. Since the investigation, USASF and USA Cheer combined names into one list, which now has nearly 200 names according to the reporters. Marissa and the visuals editor Sandy Hooper interviewed twin boys Charlie and Sam and their mother Kristen at their Texas home in August 2020. They had text messages they said were from Jerry Harris requesting nude photos or sex. Charlie told the journalist his interactions with Jerry Harris left him struggling with anxiety. He lost sleep, his grades suffered, and he cried at school. USA Today agreed to withhold their last name because the boys, then 14 years old, were minors and alleging abuse. "It was just eating me alive," Charlie said. "It was just making me so gross and uncomfortable. Every time I saw his name or something like that, I was just cringing about it." Kristen said she filed 2 reports with USASF. She said her first report, sent on May 15th, got a brief response from USASF Vice President of Membership, Amy Clark. She said she didn't hear from Amy Clark again until she filed a second report on July the 9th. Amy Clark set up a call with Kristen for the next day. During that call, Amy said the organization was opening an investigation. According to an audio recording Kristen supplied USA Today. The allegations were also reported to Varsity Brands, a private company involved in cheerleading. Jerry Harris is accused of asking one of the brothers to have sex with him in 2019 at 2 varsity cheerleading competitions. In August the 1st, letters to police in Florida and Texas, Varsity's chief legal officer reported the information to authorities. The reporter said Kristen grew frustrated by the lack of action. Jerry Harris was still involved in cheer and his fame was near its peak. At the beginning of August, she contacted the FBI. On September 13, the FBI raided Jerry Harris's home looking for evidence. The same day, the reporters published the first story on the allegations. Also that day, USASF suspended Jerry Harris from participation in all-star activities. According to federal court records, 22-year-old Jerry Harris later admitted he asked for and received explicit messages on Snapchat from at least 10 to 15 individuals he knew were minors, had sex with a 15-year-old boy at a cheerleading competition in 2019, and paid a 17-year-old money in exchange for nude photos. Jerry Harris is still in federal prison awaiting trial. Claiming him to be a brazen sexual predator, the court document also alleges that Jerry Harris SA'd a 15-year-old while at a cheerleading event, despite being in a public event with parents close by, and that he also used his newfound wealth in further manipulating minors. A court date for Harris is yet to be announced. In December 2020, Jerry Harris pleaded not guilty to the 7 charges made against him. The charges are 4 counts of sexual exploitation of children, 1 count of receiving and attempting to receive child pornography, 1 count of traveling with the attempt to engage in sexual conduct with a minor, and 1 count of enticement. If found guilty, the sexual exploitation and child pornography charges carry a minimum 15-year sentence per conviction, with enticement carrying a minimum of 10 years. We categorically dispute the claims made against Jerry Harris, which are alleged to have occurred when he was a teenager, a press statement from Harris's lawyers read at the time. We are confident that when the investigation is completed, the true facts will be revealed. In court documents, screenshots came out. One showed a number saved in one of the boys' phone as Jerry Harris, and a message from him saying, "Hey, by the way, I found a place for us to do stuff. It's actually pretty good." A Snapchat message allegedly from Jerry Harris was also shown. The screenshot showed a shot of Jerry's face with a message, "Would you ever want to beep 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 beep?" Cheer Season 2 is on Netflix, and the stars have spoken out about how the debut season changed their lives. The reality entertainment series sparked global cheer mania, but the sudden stardom threatens to alter the dynamic of Navarro Cheer. The legal process is ongoing, and the former member of Navarro Cheer, remains in federal custody without bail at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Chicago as of December 2021. So, do we really need to ask the question why the Federation kept these allegations hidden? It's happening everywhere, in any sport really, in gymnastics as well, in cheerleading, simply because, in my opinion, reputation plus money. It's always like that. It happens in the Catholic Church as well, of course. Clearly, it's happening just about everywhere. The thing to remember is, and I think that this is the most important, really, really important, the celebrity, influencer or public person you see on social media or in shows is not how they are behind closed doors. In front of others we create our own personas and we only show what we want others to see. Just because someone is a celebrity doesn't mean that they are saints, and certainly doesn't mean we have to blindly believe it's who they are in reality. And with this we got to the end of today's video. Please let me know, guys, what do you think about this in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whichever way you prefer. Either way, it's free, it doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps me and my channel out. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.